Hello and welcome to another 5-minute tip. In this tip, we're actually going to revisit two of my previous tips. The tip on work planes and the tip on locking the knife tool when using it in loop mode. One of my viewers left a comment. He said that he was hoping the knife tool tip was actually going to be about making a parallel cut. Now, what I believe he meant is that if we have this irregular object, the same one I used in the previous tutorial, I've tweaked it a little bit to make it more irregular. And if we had these faces right here selected on the end, how would we make a cut that is perfectly parallel to those faces? Well, if you go from the side view and your faces are perfectly orthogonal in that they are, facing up, down, left, or right, that's easy. But if your faces are like this, sort of like not really easily accessible from any particular view, you'll have a hard time making a cut that is perfectly parallel to them. You could go to wireframe view and maybe rotate so that you can sort of flatten them out and then use the knife tool in line mode to try to make a parallel cut next to them, but it'll never be perfectly parallel because you're still relying on your ability to see whether they're parallel or not. Luckily, Cinema 4D's knife tool has a plane mode, which is really useful for stuff like this. It allows you to choose a plane and cut on that plane. So I can have my XZ world axis plane, so that's the same plane as the floor. I can make a parallel cut to the floor just by clicking in this mode. Or I have my, I believe you can even do the camera plane, which is really weird. You can kind of cut sort of perpendicular to the camera view. And so you have these different modes. It turns out it's quite easy to use this mode in conjunction with a selection to make a parallel cut selection. And here's how you do it. You let's just put the knife mode back to world YZ or something like that. So this looks like we're on the right track, but it's not quite parallel. All we have to do is select the faces at the end here. So I'm just going to use the live selection tool. And once we have that selection, borrowing from our work plane 5-minute tip, we can actually go over here and choose align work plane to selection. So what that's going to do is pick the floor up and rest it against those polygons that we had selected. So now the floor is perfectly lined up with those polygons. At that point, we can just choose our knife tool, and then we can go to the plane mode, and we just choose, I believe, XZ on the world. And now we basically have something that is perfectly parallel to the floor. So I can create 1, 2, 3 cuts if I wanted to. And I know that all 3 of those cuts are perfectly parallel to my work plane, because the work plane in this case represents the global or the world axes. And then when I'm done, I can just reset this to align work plane to Y, and I'm back to normal. But now I have these cuts that I've made. I'm going to go to loop mode. I have these cuts that I've made that are perfectly parallel to this end cap. So that's interesting. I don't think I've ever combined 5-minute tips like that into one sort of combination video, but here you go. And this is just because one of my viewers asked for it. A lot of the times when one of you guys leaves a comment, it kind of gets the wheels turning in my head and I start to think of more tips. So please, if there's something that you were thinking about or if this reminds you of a problem you are having, let me know and I'll see if I can come up with a solution or a demonstration. So until next time, see ya.